Every winter, American homeowners hand plumbers somewhere between $500 and $5,000 to fix a problem that a 1940s tradesman would have prevented for exactly $0. No parts, no tools, no electricity, no product to buy. The industry buried this technique when the heat tape market showed up, because you cannot sell a $60 roll of tape to someone who already solved the problem for free. Here's the problem you already know. Temperatures drop. You wake up. You turn on the kitchen faucet and nothing comes out. Or worse, a trickle. Then you hear it. That low groan somewhere behind the wall. Frozen pipe. If you're lucky, it's just frozen. If you're not, it's already cracked. When water freezes, it does not compress. It expands by 9%. That expansion generates pressure inside your pipes that can exceed 200 pounds per square inch. Metal does not argue with 200 pounds per square inch for long. A small crack, just a hairline, can dump more than 250 gallons of water into your home in a single day. By the time you see the stain on the ceiling, the damage behind the wall is already done. This is not rare. Around 250,000 homes in the United States deal with frozen or burst pipes every single winter. Water damage from frozen pipes accounts for 11 to 20% of all homeowner insurance claims. The average insurance payout is over $10,000 per claim. But here's what nobody is asking. Why does this keep happening? We have had indoor plumbing for over 100 years. Why are we still flooding basements in the 21st century? Because the fix the old plumbers used got quietly replaced by something you have to keep buying. Here is what the modern industry sells you. First stop, foam pipe insulation sleeves. These are the gray tubes that go around exposed pipes. They run $1 to $4 per linear foot. The average home has dozens of feet of vulnerable pipe in the crawl space, basement, and attic. You are looking at $80 to $200 minimum, and that is before you pay someone to install it. And insulation alone? Experts are clear on this. Insulation slows the heat loss. It does not stop it. In a sustained cold snap below 20 degrees Fahrenheit, insulated unheated pipes will still freeze. It is just a matter of time. Then they sell you the next product, heat tape, also called heat cable or trace heating. You wrap it around the pipe, plug it in, and it runs electricity through a heating element all winter long. It works. But it costs $30 to $100 to buy, plus installation, and it pulls power from your electrical panel every day it runs. The global heat tape and heating cable market is valued at over $3 billion, just for the residential and industrial segments. That is a lot of revenue generated from a problem that old-school plumbers solved before that market even existed. And when it all fails, and sometimes it does, you call a plumber. An emergency service call costs $100 to $300 just to walk through your door. Thawing a frozen pipe might be a $100 flat fee, if you are lucky. If the pipe is already burst, repair costs run $400 to $2,000 for a straightforward section, and that number climbs fast when the damage is inside a wall, under a slab, or in a crawl space. Then add remediation for the water damage, and add the mold risk from lingering moisture. State Farm alone paid out over $628 million in frozen pipe and water damage claims in a single recent 18-month stretch. More than 20,000 claims from one insurance company. So what did the plumber in 1942 do? Before heat tape existed? Before foam insulation sleeves were manufactured? What did he actually do? He left the faucet open. That's it. That's the trick. Before the heat tape industry existed, before foam insulation sleeves were mass-produced, before any of it, tradesmen working on residential plumbing in the 1930s and the 1940s had a single, universal rule for cold snaps. Open the faucet farthest from the water source. Let it run a thin, steady drip. Keep it running until the freeze breaks. No product, no electricity, no service call. The water bill goes up by maybe $3 to $5 for a week-long freeze. That's the entire cost. The Red Cross still lists this method in its official freeze prevention guidance. This old house still recommends it. Plumbing professionals confirm it. But when was the last time a plumber called you up before a cold snap and said, "Hey, just open your faucet tonight?" Right. Because that advice does not generate a service call. Here is the science, and it is important because once you understand it, you will never overpay for this problem again. The common belief is that the drip works by keeping the water moving, which makes it harder to freeze. There is truth to that. Moving water does have a slightly lower effective freezing point than still water, but that is not the main reason it works. Here is the real mechanism. When a pipe freezes, it does not freeze all the way through instantly. Ice forms at the coldest point, usually against an exterior wall or in an unheated crawl space. That ice plug grows inward. Now you have a blockage. Water pressure is still feeding from the main supply line into the pipe, but it has nowhere to go. The pressure between that ice plug and the closed faucet at the far end begins to build. That is what actually bursts the pipe. Not the ice itself, but the pressure trapped between the ice and the closed outlet. A dripping faucet gives that pressure somewhere to go. The pipe may still freeze, but it does not burst, because the pressure is continuously venting through the open faucet. The ice forms. The drip continues. When the freeze breaks, the pressure releases normally. The ice thaws. Water flows. No crack, no leak, no flooding. And there's a secondary benefit. A slow drip keeps slightly warmer water moving from deeper underground pipes, where the ground is naturally insulated below the frost line, through your home's supply system. That warmer water continually refreshes the pipe, raising the temperature just enough to resist a full freeze in moderate cold. But here is the part that should make you think twice before you ever buy heat tape again. The rule plumbers used for generations is specific. Drip the faucet farthest from the water meter. Not just any faucet. Here is why. Your water supply enters the home at the meter, usually near the street, in the basement, or in a utility room. From there, supply lines run throughout the house to reach every fixture. The farthest faucet from that entry point means water must travel the entire length of your plumbing system to reach the drip. That keeps water moving through every vulnerable foot of pipe. The long runs through the basement, through the exterior walls, through the unheated garage. Drip the closest faucet, and you are only protecting a short section. Drip the farthest one, and you are covering the whole system. If you are not sure which faucet that is, open both. Cold water only. The hot supply pipe runs through different territory and can typically manage on its own, but if you want complete protection, crack both hot and cold slightly. The right rate is a thin, steady trickle. Plumbing professionals call it the pencil-thin rule. Not a stream, not a drip every 10 seconds. A thin, continuous thread of water. That is all you need. That is enough to vent the pressure. That is enough to keep the system alive. This is not folk wisdom. It is physics, and it has been understood since before synthetic pipe insulation existed. The American Red Cross includes this technique in its official winter emergency preparedness documentation, not as a backup method, but as a primary prevention strategy. It is listed alongside sealing drafts and keeping the thermostat above 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Plumbing professionals interviewed across trade publications confirm the mechanism. It is not that water movement fully prevents freezing. It is that the open faucet eliminates the pressure buildup that causes the burst. Even a pipe that does freeze will not split open if there is a pressure outlet. The Insurance Information Institute puts the average homeowner claim for burst pipe damage at more than $10,000. Licensed plumbers put the internal pressure generated in a sealed frozen pipe at up to 200 pounds per square inch. That is the load rating of a car tire. That is what the thin thread of water at your faucet is quietly neutralizing. 200 pounds of pressure released by a dripping tap. And this technique works across all pipe materials: copper, iron, PEX, and PVC. The physics does not change based on material. Ice plugs, pressure builds. Outlet open, pressure vents. No burst. Tradesmen. Working residential plumbing in cold climate cities, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Boston, understood this through decades of winter callouts. They watched which houses flooded and which ones did not. The ones that did not, the homeowners had left a faucet running on the advice of the plumber who installed the system. That knowledge passed from journeyman to apprentice for decades. It did not need a product to survive. It just needed to keep being taught. So here's the question worth asking. When did it stop being taught? The heat tape market was valued at over $1.48 billion globally in 2023, and it is growing at nearly 7% per year. That is a lot of recurring revenue generated from a problem that a dripping faucet already handles. Now, to be fair, heat tape is a legitimate product for specific situations. Pipes in unheated outbuildings that are unoccupied. Long outdoor runs that truly cannot be watched or managed. Industrial applications where manual intervention is not possible. In those cases, automated electrical heating makes sense. But for the average homeowner, for the pipe under the kitchen sink against the exterior wall, for the bathroom in the back of the house, the drip works. The drip has always worked. And unlike heat tape, the drip requires no installation, no electricity, no annual inspection, and no replacement when the element burns out. Heat tape, by the way, has a lifespan. Most residential heat tape products need to be inspected annually and replaced every 3 to 5 years. If you have it installed and forget about it, you can end up with a dead heating element and a false sense of security. The Consumer Product Safety Commission has issued safety guidelines for heat tape specifically, because improperly installed or aging heat tape has been responsible for house fires. So you are paying $60 to $100 up front. You are paying ongoing electricity costs. You are inspecting it annually if you are diligent. You are replacing it every few years if you are responsible. And you are carrying a small but documented fire risk if the installation degrades. Or you open the faucet. Here is the part the industry really does not want you to figure out. The faucet method was never replaced by heat tape because heat tape works better. It was replaced because heat tape generates revenue and the faucet does not. Before modern insulation products dominated the market, residential plumbers across cold climate America used the drip as their first line of defense. Wrap exposed pipes in whatever is available, newspapers, rags, burlap in older homes, and open the faucet during a freeze. The American Red Cross confirmed this approach was standard practice. It required nothing from a manufacturer, nothing from a supply house, nothing from a plumbing company. That is precisely why it disappeared from the mainstream conversation. Not because it stopped working, because nobody makes money when you turn on a faucet. Here is exactly what you do, and you can set this up tonight. First, identify your vulnerable pipes. Walk through your home and find every pipe that runs through an unheated space, basement, crawl space, attic, attached garage, or against an exterior wall, especially under kitchen and bathroom sinks on the side of the house that faces outside. These are your freeze zones. In a standard American home, the highest risk locations are the kitchen sink on an exterior wall, the bathroom farthest from the center of the house, and any pipe that passes through an unheated garage or crawl space. Second, find the faucet farthest from your water meter. In most homes, that is a bathroom faucet on the far end of the house, or a utility sink in a garage or back room. This is the faucet you will drip. If your home has multiple wings or floors, identify the farthest fixture in each direction from your main water entry point. Multiple drip points for multiple long pipe runs. Third, when temperatures drop to 20 degrees Fahrenheit or below, open the faucet, not wide open. A pencil-thin, continuous thread of water. Open both hot and cold handles slightly, or set a single-handle faucet to the center position. That is your pressure vent. That is your $0 insurance policy against a $5,000 repair call. Fourth, keep cabinet doors open under vulnerable sinks. This is a secondary technique the old tradesmen used too, and it costs nothing. Opening the cabinet under the kitchen sink lets the warm air in the room reach the pipe. Most sink pipes that freeze are right there, tucked against the exterior wall inside that cabinet. Open the door. Let the heat in. It's that simple. And here's the one they skip. Before any freeze, locate your main water shut-off valve. It is typically in the basement, near the water meter, or in a utility closet near where the supply line enters the house. When a pipe bursts, whether you have dripped or not, the difference between $800 in damage and $15,000 in damage is how fast that valve gets closed. 30 seconds. That's all it takes to stop 250 gallons an hour from destroying your floors, your walls, and your subfloor. Find it today. Show your family where it is. Turn it once so you know it moves freely. That's it. That's the full system. It costs nothing. It takes 10 minutes to set up. And it is what a 1940s plumber would have told you when he finished installing your pipes. Now you know what your grandfather's plumber knew. But here is my question for you. Have you ever called a plumber for a frozen or burst pipe? Drop your story in the comments.